Our readings today come from Psalm 98 and Luke 21, verses 1 through 19. Psalm 98. Oh, sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done marvelous things. His right hand and his holy arm have gotten him victory. The Lord has made known his victory. He has revealed his vindication in the sight of the nations. He has remembered his steadfast love and faithfulness to the house of Israel. All the ends of the earth have seen the victory of our God. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Break forth into joyous song and sing praises. Sing praises to the Lord with the lyre and the sound of melody, with trumpets and the sound of the horn. Make a joyful noise before the King, the Lord. Let the sea roar and all that fills it, the world and those who live in it. Let the floods clap their hands, let the hills sing together for joy at the presence of the Lord, for he is coming to judge the earth. He will judge the world with righteousness and the peoples with equity. Luke 21, 1 through 19. He looked up and saw rich people putting their gifts into the treasury. He also saw a poor widow put in 2 small copper coins. He said, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put in more than all of them. For all of them have contributed out of their abundance, but she, out of her poverty, has put in all she had to live on." When some were speaking about the temple, how it was adorned with beautiful stones and gifts decorated to God, he said, "As for these things that you see, the days will come when not one stone will be left upon another, all will be thrown down." They asked him, "Teacher, when will this be, and what will be the sign that this is about to take place?" And he said, "Beware that you are not led astray, for many will come in my name and say, 'I am he,' and the time is near. Do not go after them. When you hear of wars and insurrections, do not be terrified, for these things must take place first, but the end will not follow immediately." Then he said to them, "Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, and in various places famines and plagues. And there will be dreadful portents and great signs from heaven. But before all this occurs, they will arrest you and persecute you. They will hand you over to synagogues and prisons, and you will be brought before kings and governors because of my name. This will give you an opportunity to testify. So make up your minds not to prepare your defense in advance. For I will give you words and a wisdom that none of your opponents will be able to withstand or contradict. You will be betrayed even by parents and brothers, by relatives and friends, and they will put some of you to death. You will be hated by all because of my name, but not a hair of your head will perish. By your endurance you will gain your souls." Here ends the reading.
So glad there's so many of you here on this snowy day. So thank you for coming out, because I was excited about being here to be the worship leader and also to be accompanied by Ruth and Brent, who are going to do some special music after the sermon. So wonderful. So the older I get, the more I hear myself saying, "I can't believe how weird, wrong, different, whatever everything is, music, the things kids are wearing, table manners, politics, whatever." And I reflect often that these might be the very same sentiments that my parents or my grandparents might have had or might have used to describe the way they saw the false and decadent ways of the younger generation or the world around them. It seems like every generation at some point has thought that the world was going to hell in a handbasket. Some version of this is being expressed in Luke's story from the gospel today. Jesus has come to Jerusalem to find the grand temple that Herod spent 40 years remodeling, no expense spared, being misused, full of moneylenders and merchants. So wealth and power had taken over what was supposed to be a sacred place. Jesus' disciples don't see what he sees, the corruption and decay. Instead, they're entranced with the beauty and glory of the temple. So he warns them that this example of everlasting worldly wealth may be awe-inspiring and seductive, but that the day will come when it too will be destroyed. No stone will be left upon stone. Not only will the unimaginable happen, the mighty temple will fall, but there'll be other calamities, wars, natural disasters, persecutions, terrible times lie ahead. I have to admit that when I read this passage, I thought, wow, this sounds familiar. Nation will rise against nation. There'll be great earthquakes and famines and plagues. One thing that I personally have always thought would be everlasting, the great temple of our American form of government, seems to be teetering. And I daily read about the unraveling of seemingly solid tenets of our government, also about storms and earthquakes and extinctions and wars and other forms of suffering. And like the disciples, I feel an anxiety rising in my body. Give me more details. I need to be prepared. Where can I turn? Maybe if I read the news more, I'll feel more comfortable. Opposite effect. Should I move to Canada? It's hard not to feel semi-terrified. Some people have read this passage in Luke as an apocalyptic prediction, but others say that while the Romans did indeed destroy the temple in 70 CE, Luke's passage was actually written after that. So Luke is not so much predicting that bad things will happen as saying, as a general rule, bad things are always around the corner. They always have been, they always will be. This is true for our time as it has been for all time. So as tempting as it is to take these dire predictions of bad times ahead literally, scholars say another way to engage with apocalyptic messages in Scripture is to make meaning from them personally, on a bodily and emotional level. What does reading about terrible things that lie ahead do to us and in us? For me, what it does is it instills fear. We all feel fear. The question is, what do we do with our fear? Not very long ago, I had this experience of hearing from two different groups of people about how they planned to make it through the scary and dangerous times they perceived our country is in the throes of. One group of people had made a plan to gather together as a close-knit group of friends and family and divide up tasks that each one would take on to meet the times ahead, when they feared there would be a civil war. One young couple would collect guns and ammunition. Other members of the family group would buy up canned goods and flour and other non-perishable food items. Others were in charge of collecting medical supplies. Another group collecting goods that could be bartered for other goods, like tire and wire and buckets and wood. This family anticipated some very dangerous and lean times ahead, and their strategy was to defend themselves through stockpiling. The other group of people decided that their approach would be to create opportunities for members of their community to come together. They began a Wild Joy weekly gathering to share food and fellowship. They came together to draw and sing and paint and dance together. They partnered with a local inn to host a second Sunday brunch where anyone from the community could come and eat for free, hang out, drink coffee, play games. They hosted an ice cream social where a local therapist and voice coach came to teach attendees how to scream out their frustrations without hurting their voices, and then followed by ice cream later to soothe the throat. So, two very different approaches to the prediction of hard times ahead. You've all heard that story about the two wolves that we have inside of us, representing opposing forces. You might say forces of fear and love, or good and evil. The one wolf embodies anger, envy, greed, while the other wolf represents joy, love, and compassion. The parable's moral is that the wolf you choose to feed by giving your attention and energy to it will be the one that ultimately wins. So what are these two groups of people I described doing with their fear? I think one group is feeding it, battening down the hatches, turning their own family into something like an army. It's kind of the stuff of apocalyptic fiction. One group is doing something else entirely, trusting in their own vulnerability and in the innate goodness of members of their community, and they're getting to work to build the kind of community they want to live in. Jesus counsels his disciples in the passage from Luke, "Make up your minds not to prepare your defense in advance, and don't be afraid. I will give you words and wisdom with which to meet the hard times ahead." He's saying, trust. As I've been going through these times myself, a saying from this medieval mystic, Julian of Norwich, comes to my mind often. She said, "All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well." It's not easy to trust that all shall be well. It's not easy to trust that if you fall, there will be someone there to catch you. But that's kind of what it sounds like Jesus is asking of his disciples. Don't plan ahead. Trust that everything will be okay. And instead of worrying and preparing and feeding your fear, Jesus tells his disciples, think of these hard times as an opportunity. This, he tells them, is your opportunity to testify. When I hear the word testify, I think immediately of a courtroom where someone's testifying. But we've been hearing this month, we've been hearing people testify right here at Old South, giving testimony about why they value our community, and that has been part of the stewardship campaign. In the chapel conversations group that meets on Wednesday evenings, we talked a little bit about what it means to testify in hard times or testify to hard times. You can testify by being a witness to suffering, your suffering and the suffering of others. And witnessing can come in the form of speaking out, writing, singing, making art, standing on a street corner with a sign, providing free coats to people to keep them warm, loaning medical equipment, offering 4 community lunches in a month. All of those testimonies are great illustrations of not feeding fear, but feeding hope instead. We're vulnerable and dependent beings. Life is full of challenges and indignities and things that we can't control, full of things to be afraid of. The gospel lesson today reminds us to embrace our own vulnerability, not to plan our defenses ahead of time or blame others or run away, but to trust in the unseen and powerful force that we call God to provide the will and energy and wisdom to endure whatever comes our way.